What's going on, everybody? Perry up here on the front. Jen, I guess not hiding in the back somewhat. She's there. We went to go see Crimes of the Future, which is obviously written and directed by David Cronenberg. When it comes to Cronenberg as a filmmaker, I've loved a lot of his films. Most of the films that I've seen from him, I've either loved or liked quite a bit. The only one that I've seen that I actually didn't like was Crash. I have a whole review on Crash. Perry loves Crash, right?
I think it's a near perfect film.
Yeah, but you know, coming out of this movie, I gotta say, I thought this movie was fine, I guess. I don't think it's a bad movie, but I don't really think it's a good movie either. I mean, look, it's a very unique kind of film. It has a lot of interesting concepts, and it actually does kind of give me Crash vibes in the sense that it has a lot to do with like the fetishization of technology and the kind of like risks that come with it. But overall, I feel like even though there are really interesting aspects of this film, and it does deliver on some of that like Cronenberg body horror that people really love about him, I feel like it unfortunately just kind of squanders a lot of the potential it has. I feel like conceptually there's a lot there, but I don't feel like it was explored nearly enough as it should have been. I mean, I do like the characters overall in this film, even though, again, like I feel like even the characters could have been fleshed out a bit more. Kristen Stewart in this film, I actually really enjoyed. I like her character and I like her performance. She has this like, I don't know what it is about her, but she's really great at portraying this kind of this person that has a lot of repressed, either anxiety. In this film, it's a lot of repressed sexuality in a way. But I thought her performance was really creepy, but in my mind, pretty damn effective. But yeah, I mean, even though this film does have its aspects that I do appreciate, overall, I unfortunately do think that it didn't quite deliver on at least what it was going for. I'll talk more about it, obviously, but I want to go ahead and hand it off to Perry.
It's one of those films where the closer I get, the more like of a bad feeling I get watching the movie. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I think it's really mediocre. I didn't like this movie. And it is kind of, even though my excitement dwindled towards the end of watching the movie, towards the buildup of watching the movie, yeah. I still left the theater disappointed. There are things I really admire about the film. One, I'd have to say, is the production design. Yeah. I really like the production design of this film. And I love the score to this movie. Howard Shore, yet another incredible score. And it's funny because he also did the score for Crash. So just Cronenberg and Howard Shore, they're kind of a match made in heaven. But the score and the production design, by far my two favorite things about the film. Yeah. But the core issue with this movie is, like you said, it squanders its concept by getting lost in exposition. My God, this is such an exposition-heavy movie.
Yeah, I have to agree.
And it's like Cronenberg, it's like that's not good world building. Yeah. That's not good world building to just have so many scenes of people delivering exposition.
Yeah, and it's not only in regards to its story, but like even its themes too. Yeah. I'm just like, there's just characters that just kind of go on and on talking about either like plot details or the themes of the film, and it was kind of a turnoff. Yeah,
not to mention not a very strong story, like at all. Yeah. It's an hour and 50-minute movie, but the movie doesn't feel like it's actually like going anywhere until like the second half of the movie, and right when it's like there's a bit of an intrigue, like the movie just ends.
Yeah, because like I feel like there's this big portion in the second act. There's a good stretch of like 35 to 40 minutes where I just feel like the plot isn't really progressing into anything that's all that meaningful. Yeah. And all the character interactions that are within that time frame aren't really that interesting either. Yep. And like, you know, this entire film kind of teases this big like finale that's going to happen in the third act, and then when we finally get there, I feel like it just like it kind of fizzles, and it's not really anything that's all that satisfying either. Again, like thematically, I think this film has a lot. Conceptually, it has a lot. It's just, I just feel like it squanders it by not really having a strong story and actually building up to something that felt like a true finale. And usually Cronenberg is great at that. Cronenberg is usually excellent at delivering like these just absolutely wild and satisfying finales to his films. But I don't really think he really reaches that here. And I mean, even though I didn't find the finale all that satisfying, I will say I do kind of like the last 2 minutes of this movie. I think it does end on a more of like, in terms of quality of the film, I do think it is a positive aspect. But I don't feel like it's worthy of like all the build up and all the runtime that you get to sit through in this film.
Yeah, and it's crazy because this is a script that Cronenberg has like had under his belt for over 20 years, and it's like you couldn't have touched it up in those 2 decades and given it a stronger story. It's like you thought what you wrote back in the late 90s, early 2000s was just pure gold. It's like, no, this script needed a lot of work.
Yeah, to me the biggest flaw of the movie is really the script, because I do think the direction is solid, in terms of the camera work and the way the film flows and the way the score is incorporated, like all this stuff I think is really like great. It's just unfortunate that the script to me is just, it's rather weak. There's not really all much there. Like I feel like this film does have a lot of interesting themes, but throughout this film you always feel like it's just scratching the surface. Yeah. It's never really like, you never really have those profound moments. Again, I don't want to like dog on this film so much. I don't really think it's a bad movie. It's just, it does feel like a film that was really squandered in a lot of different ways. Yeah,
if I had to describe it, it's like looking at a hot rod, like classic car, and then realizing there's no engine in it, It's like, it looks nice, but it's not going to take you anywhere.
Yeah, and I'm curious to I really don't know what everybody else is thinking about this film right now. I know that in terms of like critic reviews before I went in, like it was mostly positive, but I don't know how like overall everybody's gonna feel about it. I don't even know how Cronenberg fans are gonna feel about it, because I mean, we're technically Cronenberg fans and we still kind of felt like this movie just kind of fell short.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like there was many people in our audience that enjoyed the film either.
I wish I had really more positive things to say about it, but the positive things are kind of like, they're kind of gimmies, like, yeah. That it's gonna have good body horror, that the practical effects are gonna be there, that the story, that conceptually it's gonna be kind of out there and unique because it's Cronenberg, but like, everything else, I don't feel like is all that compelling, unfortunately.
I think the reason why Kristen Stewart was one of my favorite performance in the movie is because she had more personality than any of the characters in the movie. Yeah. My God, like some of these characters were just so one-dimensional and so bland. It was like watching them was like watching fucking paint dry,
There were scenes, dude, like with Viggo Mortensen's character, and I guess he's a detective or a police officer or something like that. He has like,
that's the thing, it wasn't even very well established. Yeah. It's like, what the hell are you?
This movie does a lot of explaining, but when it comes to certain things, it's like we're just left out in the dark, I guess.
But you're suddenly going undercover and working for this random fucko.
Yeah.
Like
the character interactions between them, every time it would cut to them, there's like 3 or 4 scenes with them, I was really just kind of bored with the movie. Like there was like pretty much nothing going on between them I found really all that interesting or engaging, and I don't know if it's because of how it was written or just like conceptually it's not really good, but their character interactions it was bland and kind of just boring to me.
Even Léa Seydoux, her performance felt very uneven. It's like the more I saw of her, like the less I cared about her character, because like at first I thought she was fine, but then it was just like just an actor reading off lines, what I can see that.
And it sucks because I honestly I don't know if it's fully her fault, because
it's the script.
The script is just like, a lot of the way it's written comes off pretty unnatural at times.
Yeah, a lot of these actors just were not given anything to
Even though
work
I will
with.
say I'm proud of Kristen Stewart because she was giving some pretty unnatural dialogue, and I think she somehow pulled it off in a way.
You know who she reminded me of? She reminded me of Angela Bettis in May. She was kind of like the May character.
Yeah, just like this fucking like weird, quirky, repressed person.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know, guys. Like this movie didn't quite do it for me. I know I've said this a bunch of times, but I don't want anybody to get the impression that I think this is a bad movie. It's just a bit disappointing, and I honestly don't think I could even recommend it as difficult, because I was really struggling on a rating for a while, but I just kept thinking to myself, like, can I honestly like recommend this film to somebody? Can I tell them to go out in the theater and watch this? And I don't think I can, unfortunately.
Especially with what it costs, like what theater tickets cost nowadays. I would definitely wouldn't recommend, especially since it's like, it's one of those movies where it falls in the worst place. Like, it's not bad enough to like go on a full-blown rant, but it doesn't do enough to where you can give it a fresh rating. It falls really right dead center in the middle, in that like forgettable category, which you want anything but forgettable with Cronenberg. Cronenberg should be anything but forgettable.
Yeah.
You should be talking about his films for years to come, like we have been with pretty much his entire body of work up until this point. I don't see people talking about this from 10 years from now and remembering it fondly.
I don't think so.
I think it's one of those Cronenberg movies that we're just gonna there one day and gone the next.
I mean, fortunately, I kind of have to agree. I mean, I guess with that being said, we should just go ahead and give ratings.
Yeah.
Unfortunately...
Jen, I'm sorry, we spoke a lot. What did you think of the film?
Don't talk to me!
It was a good time. No kidding.
It was a good time, no alcohol required.
Yeah. I kind of agree with both of y'all. I fully agree with both of y'all. I felt like you had the Cronenberg kind of things to expect, which is the wonderful work on the props. The technique on that was really good. It just felt like, you guys mentioned, the characters didn't feel like they were really fleshed out, I guess. I felt like they were just what they were.
Kind of one-dimensional.
Yeah, and then the whole political, aspect about it, I felt like it did go somewhere a little bit here and there, but it kind of would stop at the same thing, and then we would just kind of go back to the I want to spoil it, I guess. Just like it would just go back to certain points of the film that we have already established. Yeah, and with the female main actress, I believe, I don't know her name.
Leah Sado, I think. Yeah.
She, I guess she had a huge moment towards the third act where she has that delivery of dialogue, and it just, I was sitting there watching it like, I know that you worked hard to deliver this right now, but I just don't really care about the message. I don't care about the writing. I felt like it was not very good, and I felt really bad for her as towards the end of her whole dialogue, because I'm just like,
because you could definitely tell she did like put forth the effort in her performance, but like emotionally you feel kind of detached from it, and then like thematically you kind of like, okay.
Yeah, so you're just sitting there like, oh, it probably could have been written a lot better, but here we are.
So we say you probably land, you land like pretty much with where we land on this movie, more or less.
Very, very much.
The fact that this got a 6-minute standing ovation at Cannes, it's like, really? Really?
I don't see it. I don't know what would compel them.
I don't believe it. Are you sure?
A bunch of simps.
For what exactly?
I don't know. I guess they'll applaud anything. Oh, it's Cronenberg. Let's stand up for 6 minutes, even though this movie's not that great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is in Salt Lake City.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All the SLC punks.
But yeah, is that it, Jen? Do you want to talk more?
That's about it. It was kind of, it sucks because you kind of want to feel like you want to say more about it.
Yeah, and it's also a film that you really want to like too.
Yeah.
Like you're watching, you're like, I really want to fucking like this movie, but
it has all the sci-fi, the right type of sci-fi, none of that B-grade kind of thing, but it just
none of that Sci-Fi Channel bullshit.
Yeah.
which I like sort of, but Back in the 90s, maybe.
That's its own thing, though.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that right now. Don't judge me.
But all right then. If we're gonna do ratings, then I'm gonna have to unfortunately give this movie a strong 5 out of 10. I really wanted to give this a fresh rating, but I unfortunately can't do that.
Jen?
Oh Lord, I gotta grade it. All right. I think I'm gonna. You gave it a 5, right? Because that's what
I gave it a strong 5. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna go. Yeah. Because I just didn't like the writing. I just felt like it was just like he exercised everything else sort of, but then the writing, I felt like that's what probably just left your shit all stagnant.
So strong 5 then.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, a
Sure.
5. I hope I'm projecting.
No.
A 5.
A solid 5 or strong 5?
No, solid. No. Oh. I give it a strong 5.
Give it a strong mid, flaccid 5. Go ahead, Perry.
Soft 5 out of 10 for me.
Soft 5. Okay.
Would not recommend.
Right. Well, we all give it 5s. That's all we gotta say about Crimes of the Future. Fortunately, it was pretty disappointing. And we're honestly not gonna watch another film and review at least a new film until Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
Yeah, that's like not for another 3 weeks.
That's
Holy
near the end of the month. It's like literally a day before my birthday. So, but all right. Thanks for watching this review. If you really enjoyed what we had to say about the films, give it a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.
Yeah.